perfectly okay with that. I chose the PowerPoint software because I've been doing extensive training with my teachers in how to use PowerPoint. So if I'm going to make that leap, I'm hoping that I could demonstrate the PowerPoint to them and not scare them off. So it was great practice. I'm going to start with initially opening up the PowerPoint example file. Okay, that's my daughter. And look, my own phone irritating me. Okay.
It's funny, one time I started a session in Toronto and I went through the whole housekeeping, lo and behold, an hour later, that's my alarm. Because even though you turn the volume off of your phone, they have this great feature that your alarm, even though you turn off the volume of your ringing, the alarm will still go for you.
Sorry about that.
So get going.
All right. So what I've done is I've double-clicked on the board and I've opened up the PowerPoint slide, and it's a simple PowerPoint presentation with 5 slides. And since we've already gone over Inkware, we know that Inkware, immediately when you pick up the pen, you can go into Word and Excel, but it acts a little bit differently when you're in PowerPoint. So that when you actually pick up the pen, you'll note that there is a visual bar around the outside indicating that the transparency in the edit mode, or not the view mode, if I could clarify that. So when I'm in the screen, and you can see the indicator by the capture toolbar. No, just the floating toolbar. So there are 2 indicators that the transparency, and I'm not using Inkware at this point. So when I put the pen back, you'll see that that is removed from the screen. So that would be when it's in the normal view. But when you go to the slideshow, so I'm going to point and click on slideshow and start the slideshow by viewing it with the F5 command, you'll see that we have the floating toolbar. Is it considered the floating toolbar there too?
PowerPoint command.
Would that be different if you were talking about the one down here? Making reference to the one at the bottom? Because wouldn't that be the PowerPoint command?
That's the PowerPoint menu. That one is the slideshow toolbar.
Okay. So this would be the slideshow toolbar, and you can see that there the next indicating that while I'm in PowerPoint, if I wanted to view the next slide, if I point and click touch one time, you'll note that it'll advance to the next slide. And if I wanted to go to the back or the previous slide, I point and click on the left arrow, which would bring me back. And this would control the navigation through the slides you're viewing your show. At this point, if I pick up the pen, you'll note that I do not have the transparency mode, that I have gone into actually Inkware. And the only time it's available, Inkware, where I can write and make notes and eventually capture, is when I'm in the view slideshow. Now, as I go through, I can make notes. So if I'm sitting here and I'm pointing out that this slide is 8%, you'll note that I've written onto the slide, and that as I go to my pen down and I navigate by going to the next slide and advancing to the next slide, advancing back, you'll note that for a minute there I thought they weren't going to be there, but you'll note that the annotations I made in the ink were still there. The other command is the center, and if you note that there are multiple options in this menu. Capture to the notebook. If I point and click capture to the notebook, you'll note that this screen is capturing, and in a moment when I leave the view show, I'll go back to notebook to show you where that's been captured. The other option is to insert the drawing as an image. So when I press and point, I've inserted this object as an image. You really still can't tell at this point because it's a part of the slideshow, and I've asked it to add my notes to capture it into the PowerPoint. The other is, you'll see that these two have grayed out, indicating that there's no longer any additional notes that I haven't asked to put back into it. I can add a blank slide at this point. Maybe I'm making some conversation and I want to add some more notes. So I've written notes. You'll note that as I point and click, again, if I click here to restore the writing, the writing will come back. Now, finally, as I go through, I have PowerPoint commands where I can go to a slide. These are the slides that are currently available to me. So if I go to slide number 6, it would advance all the way to the end, another way to advance, and the PowerPoint commands to go to a slide, go back to the slide that I had currently been working on. Another way to navigate through the PowerPoint is if I press once and press again, you'll note that it'll advance right, indicating the first press indicated that I wanted to make some sort of movement. The second was the direction. So if I press once and then press left, this is not your computer, let me try that again. Press once and press left. It may have been that I pressed too far away or that I didn't do it quickly enough so that it didn't read the sequence of the two. Okay, if I press on the menu key and I go to the settings, you can see you can double press to advance, and I really didn't want to bring that up right now, so I'm going to go ahead and double press. You can see that it also makes the advance that way. Now, if I go and close this, okay, I'm going to go ahead and advance through till I'm at the end of the show. How would I bring that menu back up if I had closed it without meaning to?
So if you close the slideshow toolbar, the only way to get it back is to exit the show and return back into it.
At that point, would it be okay to come down to this, or this is not part of the flow of knowledge, so I wouldn't want to go into PowerPoint?
Yeah, because those are PowerPoint commands. If someone wasn't aware that they existed, then that may create some confusion, but what
Just advance to the end like I was doing then would be an alternative?
or you could bring up the on-screen keyboard and press exit.
Okay.
Or the escape button, sorry.
Okay.
And that was.
Right, so now if you look at this point that we can see that this slide is blank, and at one point you saw me writing on the slide. You'll note that the first one, while I was in the middle of the presentation, I actually added it to it and the options grayed out. So you can see that on this slide, those notations are still there. On this particular slide, I did not add it, I didn't ask it to do anything, but it remembers that I wanted to add the drawing or my notes. So if I say yes, then the notes are added to the blank page. So during that process when I was doing this show, the other thing that I did was I went over to, and we had the other one up, but I actually asked it to capture into the notebook. So there was another point during the PowerPoint presentation. So now I've also captured this into a notebook. We go back to the PowerPoint. There's two ways to save this file. If I'm going to save this file with keeping the notes, because these notes are very important to me, then I would go ahead and ask for the command to file save. I don't. I want to keep my original PowerPoint intact, so I would point and press on file and I would choose the save as command. What the save as command will allow me to do is to come down and rename the file, and I'm going to press and bring up the on-screen keyboard so that selecting and placing my cursor, backspacing, and adding test so that you can see that I have a new file. Close the on-screen and press save. What I've done now is created a separate file so that if I close out of the PowerPoint, do I want to save the changes to the and back? You can see that when I come back to the sample presentation and bring this back up, that none of my changes were made, but if I go back and open a second PowerPoint file, the test file, this is where I placed them, so I've actually created a separate file. Now, I'm going to go back in and view the show one more time, so I'm going to go into the slideshow, and I'm going to view the show. And coming through to this menu, one of the things that I did was I added a blank slide that I actually worked on. At this point, I may want to take a pause, and at this point it's blank, so I might want to say black. When I black this out, all I've done is put a screen over top of it. The slide is still there and it's still active. And if I want to bring that back, go back to the PowerPoint and unblack it and slide back up. Okay, I think I'm done.
Alright, so you're complete?
I think so.
Alright, thank you very
Well, that's
much.
a matter of speaking.